Hey, yo, this your boy Sherman. You know I'm tuning into that Jets Guru. Every time I'm on a construction site, we keep that joint popping, man.
All right, let's look at this logically, okay? Okay. Only a really bad team would only score 3 points in a football game. And the Jets are the greatest team ever. So something's not adding up here.
You see, the whole house of cards collapses.
Long story short, the Jets are going to the Super Bowl. That's a promise.
Place your bets now, people.
Dre, I see dead people. Hated to love it, the underdogs on top. And I'm gon' shine, homie, until my heart stop. Go ahead, envy me. I'm Raps MVP, and I ain't going nowhere, so you can the underdogs on top. The underdogs on top. Go ahead, envy me. The underdogs on top. And I ain't going nowhere, so you can get to know me.
Rockin' like the
Rockin' like a 6 on top. Whole club rockin' like a 6.
rockin' like the
Rockin' like a 6 on top. Whole club rockin' like a 6. Rockin' like a 6 on top. The underdogs on top.
rockin' like the
Rockin' like a 6 on top. This nigga did it again. Let me put you on the game.
What's going on, Jets Nation? CJ the Painkiller D. Simone here, and you are watching Jets Guru. Now, give it up for your host, Mr. Daniel Smith!
What is going on, New York Jets and New York Jets Guru faithful out there? Really appreciate the support from you guys each and every week. I mean, I keep checking on here and you guys are supporting. You guys are watching the show. You're reading the articles. You're checking out the pictures and the videos that everyone is posting. I mean, I'm just super excited right now for Jets football to get started. I mean, just to watch some real tape that means something. But I mean, before we can get there, we can't rush, right? So we can't get there yet until we discuss training camp. And right now, guys, I mean, the green and white scrimmage, all I saw were reports that Zach Wilson is awful, that Zach Wilson didn't play well, that he didn't do this, he didn't do that. Guys, it's a glorified training camp practice. Because if you look at it, he comes out, has a good practice after that, has a poor practice after that. He's a rookie quarterback. I'm expecting him the first time that he's learning an NFL offense, that he's learning the players that are around him, that he's going to have turnovers, that he's going to throw touchdowns, that he's going to do a lot of different things. I expect him to play a little bit better against the Giants in his, I think, solid set. One quarter or a couple series, something like that he's going to play against the Giants. Listen, the kid has all the talent that's needed, but to knock his whole setup just because he had a bad green and white showing isn't really the indicator whether he's going to be a good quarterback or not. Pump the brakes a little bit. I think you get even more than the green and white. I think looking at the rest of training camp, because I consider the green and white just another training camp practice that's just glorified for the fans. But you could see a lot of fans at any training team practice, and it's not like the kid looked rattled or anything like that. So, he had a bad practice, move on to the next one. The rest of the practices and the other players that you're seeing out there is someone that I've been posting about pretty much seems like daily is Carl Lawson. I mean, this guy, Carl Lawson, I don't know who is in the Jet scouting department, if it was Joe Douglas himself who pointed out Carl Lawson. But I mean, this guy is just killing it right now in training camp practices. And mind you, he has to do it inside of the game. We get that 100%. But what you're seeing from this guy and what he's doing to Mekhi Becton and giving him trouble on that left side is just music to my ears. And someone posed a question to me, and I want to pose that question to you guys too. Do you think that Carl Lawson is having a hype training camp, or do you think that Becton may not be living up to the hype as much? Now, I think it's a pretty ridiculous question, but I'll pose it to you anyways. It was posed to me. Me personally, I believe that Carl Lawson is an ascending defensive player, a defensive rusher in this game. And I believe he's having the training camp of his life because once again, like every point in his career, when given responsibility, Carl Lawson checks the boxes and moves on to the next stage. And I think the next stage for him is a lot of sacks. And I think it's really great football. And I'm super excited to see it. And Mekhi Becton is just getting worked. He's getting worked on that left side. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, but it's good for him. He's facing competition that's a lot better than what he saw in training camp last year. And that's a simple fact about it. And this is a good thing because I think Mekhi Becton's going to be ready day one because I think Lawson is an 8 to 10 sack guy. Could he get more? Absolutely. Could he be 13, a 14 sack guy? Possibility. But right out of the gate, I'm not going to throw that on him, but just out of pure athletic ability and strength, I mean, this guy, I honestly believe that you're talking about 8 to 10 sacks. Some of the things that he was talking about, and Connor Hughes actually reported this, and I like to go to Connor because it seems like he has honest reporting. He doesn't seem to try to jazz things up. He said that Carl Lawson said the angles and the leverage help because I guess he doesn't fit the prototypical size of someone in his position, but he says he is strong as hell. That not exactly those words. I try to keep the cursing for these programs as low as possible so we can get as many viewers as possible. But he, this is a beast of a man, and Mekhi's having a hard time with him. And there is a size difference. And I think Michael, is it Nani? I think he had a stat that he had posted that I saw against bigger defenders like Mekhi Becton. Carl Lawson has a way better advantage because of his size, because of the explosion in a more smaller, tighter size where he can get leverage and get angles on guys where the bigger guys have to come down and reach. They're not meeting someone straight ahead. And when you're reaching down like a big guy, if you don't make your move right away, if you don't drive that defender down, he's going to get around you. He's going to do a move. These guys are super athletic. I mean, everyone on the defense, I mean, even Mosley, you saw in one drive for the Jets. I mean, Mosley looks great. When I went out there, I honestly thought it was a safety with the same hair as Mosley when I saw him. And I saw how thin he looked. And he said he's, the thinnest he's probably been since probably college. And, I'm super excited about that. I'm super excited about all the running backs that the Jets have had in training camp so far. And I mean, if you look just down the list, it's been just a really good training camp, to answer a few questions, at least early on. Denzel Mims, where's he going to play? Like, is he going to be on the third team? Is Denzel Mims going to get cut? People are saying things like this. And then the reports lately is that he's been putting together some good camps. They've actually came out and said this guy is going to be on the roster. So they're out there. They're out front with it with Denzel Mims. Guys, they just drafted him last year. To think that he's not going to have a place with the New York Jets would be ridiculous, especially with all the things considered that we spoke about with Denzel Mims. Remember, we talked about it. We spoke about that he missed the first 5 games. So when you look at the statistics, obviously there's going to be guys that had a head start over him. But when you look at the time that he was playing, he was right up with those guys, yards per catch. He was averaging 40, 50 yards in the first half of games. It's just he wasn't able to put full games together because they out-schemed the Jets. And that's plain and simple. The Jets offense was absolutely awful. The quarterback was awful. So are we going to blame all of that on Denzel Mims when they stop throwing him the ball in the second half and they don't feature him the most when he's the new guy on the outside? I mean, Darnold couldn't even get through one read in his third year. That's how bad the line, the play calling, the scheme, the emotional feeling of the team was last year. It was awful. And I thought Denzel, considering the amount of games he played, he looked good in them. And I didn't see why everybody, was knocking him just because Elijah might be a star or might get to star status or might perform in an electric way faster than Denzel. When I think if you look at the work that Denzel put on tape, when you look at his, he goes up and he gets the ball at the highest point. You see his hip rotation and being able in the air to rotate his body. It's just not stiff as a board when he goes up. He has good footwork on the sidelines. I mean, he's a good player. Does he have to work on his route running? Absolutely, he has to work on his route running. There's no doubt about that. But that's something he's going to gain over time, right? Some guys come in with that. Some guys don't. So listen, the way I see it is these guys have all had excellent training camps. It's been an exciting time to be a New York Jet fan. It seems like things are being erased that shouldn't have been erased before. That should have been erased years ago. And I mean, I'm talking about 10 years ago. I'm not talking about, last year or the year before. I'm really realistically talking about a team that's been in fractures since, Rex Ryan and all that has been gone. So to me, the way I consider it is this is like a new beginning for the team and how they're approaching things. The whole all gas, no brakes, everything. The way that Salah approached the offseason and went and get players, I think it's just absolutely exciting because he went out there and he got guys for scheme, not name, not face, not highlights. Because a lot of people didn't know Carl Lawson. But if you look in between the stats with the outside pass rushers, you will see that Carl Lawson is in those stats. He's in those important stats in between the lines. And it's growing and it's an ascending. And you see that player tilting up, tilting up, tilting up. So I think, me personally, that the Jets defense, it's going to be better than you think, right? I know they're going to struggle with the corners a little bit. And, they're young, they're green. But listen, I'm not going to say they're really going to struggle until they go out there and they struggle. Let's see how they go out and play. But I think the front of the Jets is going to be something to handle with. And I think this offensive line, right? There's been some reports out there. At first, I didn't know how true they were, but I'm starting to see them now that, Moses and Fant, that there could be a competition for the right tackle position. Who cares? I'm super excited for that. I'm excited for Moses because Moses, right, maybe in the first time in a long time, actually has some competition and has to turn up a little bit in a new scheme and a new way of playing that really doesn't tailor to him and tailors more to Fant. Remember, Fant is a very athletic tackle. Seattle used to use him as a tight end in certain packages. He could play left, he could play right side. He's very versatile. You have to remember that. And so just because they sign Moses doesn't mean there's not going to be competition all over the field. The sense that I get from this new regime is that they're going about finding the best talent that's available. And I think that's smart. And the best talent that plays well in camp is going to get to play. And I think that's exciting because I don't want guys that are forced to pay because they get paid too much. I don't want that. Or because they brought him here on a free agent deal and they want to justify the GM's decision. No, best guy plays, best quarterback plays, best receiver plays right now. Best linebacker. And that's the best thing about a young team is that there isn't those higher paid guys. Like you're not, you have to, if you don't get a veteran, you're kind of forced to start Zach Wilson. But there's plenty of positions on this team where you're not forced. I mean, Davis, right? Quinn, Mosley, and May. I mean, those are the guys that you're really forced to really play, if they're healthy. But those are guys that are also young and they're also still playing really well, So the way you look at it is completely different, So I'm super excited about this team. And so let's bring Chris in. Let's talk a little bit about Michael Carter Jr. I know people get a little bit confused. Sometimes I get confused. Junior, not juniors. There's Carters. There's people all over the place with the same name. But the Jets are very green at the position, Krista, and people are a little bit worried. Richard Sherman was someone that the Jets talked about. Well, not the Jets, but the Jets faithful talked about. And then with his incident, that kind of threw things out the window if there was ever a chance of that. It seems like the sentiment for the organization and from Coach Saleh is that they want to test these young guys out and really see what they have. I mean, I'm not against the approach because you did draft these guys, you did bring them in. You have to see what they have. If even for depth purposes moving on in the future, they have to see what they have. And so I'm not against it. It's a rebuilding year. It's the first year, and this is the year you should be testing all these things out. If the Jets are still looking for cornerbacks in year 3 of Salah when we're supposed to be making a playoff push, not trying to find corners, then I think I would be a little bit worried. But right now, we got a host of young bodies, guys with chips on their shoulder. They're looking to play well and make a name for themselves. And so next year, hopefully the Jets don't have to spend so much money in the offseason trying to find replacements for these guys. And this is ultimately what Joe Douglas wants, is he wants young players to develop under the Jets so that they're retained by the Jets for favorable contracts. And when they're ready to move on from them, you have the next crop behind them ready to move up. And I guess that starts this year with this training camp. And so what's your opinion, Krista, on the cornerback situation? Do you think it's a smart play to go as young as they are out there? And then, what do you think about Michael Carter and what he could bring to the table?
For me personally, I did really want a veteran out there. I felt like with all the youth movement that the Jets had at cornerback, it would have been nice to have Steven Nelson or an older cornerback to help teach the younger guys the ropes. But looking at training camp, Joe Douglas drafted a lot of versatile type guys that could play multiple positions, and he used a lot of draft picks on these type of guys. It's only right that since we are rebuilding, like you mentioned before, to play these guys and see what they have. And it's been an up and down process. You see guys in first teams, second teams, and that's things you like to see, especially on a team with a lot of young talent. What I like about Michael Carter is he fits a Robert Saleh type defense. He fits the cover zone type defense. If we were playing man, I'm not sure Michael Carter, the cornerback that we just drafted, would have fit this type of defense. But when you look at Michael Carter, he has the speed, he has the aggressiveness. During his time at Duke, he played outside cornerback for a little bit. He plays mostly inside, plays safety. He could pretty much play everywhere. And as of right now, he's making a good run for that starting slot cornerback position versus Guidry and Elijah Campbell. What I like about Michael Carter is his aggressiveness, his speed. He has his eye on the ball all the time. And what I didn't know personally about Michael Carter is just how fast this guy was. When I was reading up on him, I didn't know that his 40 was as fast as Elijah Moore, and that's pretty impressive for a cornerback. And he fits. What I like about him also is that he's a very smart guy. He was team captain on Duke. I know Joe Douglas loves to draft those team captains, and he fits the system, fits the locker room, and he's the guy that the Jets could potentially move around if needed to be, like they did in Duke. He's a very good tackler, had over 140 tackles. He's able to play around the field. He's a very smart guy. He was drafted in the 5th round, and I can see why Joe Douglas drafted him. He's a guy that could play multiple positions if needed. If you need a guy on safety, Michael Carter can play it. If you need a guy to fill in at cornerback, he can also play it as well. And I like the Joe Douglas tactic to fit multiple guys, especially when you're in a rebuilding roster. I think it's very important to have guys that could play multiple positions. And Michael Carter, I think I wouldn't be surprised watching him at training camp if he potentially steals that spot from Guidry. I like Guidry too, but I think Michael Carter has a lot more to offer on his defense. He fits this, like I mentioned before, and I know I say it before, but this is the type of guy that truly, really fits Saleh's type defense. He's not a guy that you're just fitting in a round peg. Michael Carter is a guy that I can see Saleh using in multiple ways in this type defense.
Absolutely. I mean, when you look at Saleh, I mean, he's going to require different things and some of the pieces that are on this table for him. Even though you have a new install, even though you have new coaches and you have a new draft class and everything, you can't get rid of all of the players on the roster. And you may not want to. I mean, obviously, you come to a team and, you want to see what guys can bring to the table. But it's going to be a different look, but I think some of the players that can easily translate, you look at Mosley, and again, we spoke about him earlier in the cast about how he was able to lose the weight and drop about 10, 15 pounds because the requirement for him to be in coverage is going to be a lot, more in depth than it was before. And listen, he took on the challenge. And, you see guys like Cashman, where you're hoping that he can catch on because of his ability to be able to cover and his ability to keep up because of the speed. I mean, the NFL it's becoming a faster and faster league. You see these positions starting to morph. That's why the Jets are drafting safeties and converting them to, outside linebackers, because the linebackers don't have to be, as bruising. They don't have to be big and bruising. You need guys to be able to cover. You need guys to be able to rush. If you're overloading, you just everything is about seconds and timing in the NFL, and we're finding out that, more slender, more faster, more athletic is what you're looking for. And you're seeing even offensive linemen getting smaller, thinner, than you've ever seen, and more refined. And so, the type of defense that Saleh has, it requires some covering skills. And, that's why I think that the Jets defensive line right away gets a kind of a boost, because I think out of all the changes that Saleh brings to the line for players that were already previously on the roster, I think the way that he implores his defense, it allows you to be able to attack. And the responsibilities are less, the playbook, no offense to Greg Williams and all these guys, they would run many, many, many different fronts, many different looks, many different rotations. And I think it's a little bit more simplified with Saleh on defense and what he wants them to be able to do and to accomplish. And so looking at it, it's going to be interesting to see who stands out. Again, there's a lot of new names. There's a lot of new faces to get used to and to see who really comes out there and shines. But at the end of the day, Michael Carter might just Jr. might just be one of those guys who comes out there and performs. And I mean, you're looking at also a situation where, for the first time in a long time in many different positions, you have competition. And I think that's a good thing. And, I think you look at the wide receiver position, Elijah Moore wind up getting hurt today. And that's unfortunate. It's a quad injury. It's not serious. There's a possibility he could still play on Saturday. But if I'm the Jets and, what they see in this kid, I'm almost going to say 100% that he is not going to play against the Giants. And it's unfortunate because, we all want to see him play. We all want to see him, get that rhythm and get those reps, because people say, oh, well, they throw together in practice. It used to so annoy me so much when it was with Darnold and Robbie Anderson. They used to say, I don't understand why they can't throw the deep ball. Don't they practice? Well, yeah, they practice, but it's different. It's like drills. You go to the training camps, it's like 7-on-7s. It's individual stuff. You can't ramp up and replicate game speed and unpredictability from what, random defensive players are going to do. In practice, everything is simulated. It's controlled. And so it's not the same. And so you have to do it in game. And that's why, I was such a proponent of even seeing Wilson take his shots, because like he said after, his performance in the green and white game, if I don't take those shots, how am I supposed to know what I can get away with, what I could squeeze in, in this weather, what this, that, third, there's so many scenarios. You want to try it now. And, and I posted in rebuttal too. And I also said, listen, do you want this kid to be Mark Sanchez on a wristband, halfway through the season? I mean, it's just because, he's scared to take chances now and they want to rein him in. It's let the kid go out there and make his mistakes, throw the football around a little bit to people that he's never thrown the ball to before, so you can get some familiarity. But this is why we talked about it, right? Elijah Moore gets a quad injury. This is why the Jets went out there and they got receivers like they did. And this is why they went out and they retained people like Jamison Crowder, because you can afford it right now. These people aren't deal breakers, and these injuries happen all the time. I mean, if you're a receiver, you're running every play you're out there, you're using your legs every play, and these things can happen. And imagine if the Jets don't bring in, Keelan Cole. Imagine if the Jets don't retain Jamison Crowder and cut him, and Mims is working his way back, and all you have is Davis, and now your potentially star new wide receiver has a quad injury going into his first preseason game with a quarterback who didn't look in sync in his last practice or his last serious practice. So the way the Jets built their team, they built these fail safes in there for them to protect themselves. And that's when you have to give it up to Joe Douglas right now. You absolutely have to, because you think this is going to be the last injury that happens before the season starts. I wish and I hope that it's a clean roster. Sometimes it happens, but most likely it's not going to. And so looking at it, that's why I like it. And that's why I like that there's competition at right tackle if they really are considering, putting Fant there and letting Moses be the swing. If that's the case, I'm all for it, because you know what? At some point in time, someone on that line is going to miss time for something. And that's when you have guys, like Cameron Clark. That's why you have guys like Moses or Fant that would come in and cover for these guys when they're gone. And this is smart. And all in all, it protects Zach Wilson in the end, because it gives him another look for wide receiver. It gives him another offensive lineman to protect him. It doesn't seem as drastic when guys get injured and you know it's coming. And then you have the additional football game at the end of the season as well. And so, and if I'm not mistaken, I think the Jets actually have to travel for that game too. And so when you're looking at this, it's multiple looks, multiple facets in how you build this team. And I find it all interesting, Krista. I think it's just a really exciting time because I think most of the garbage has been thrown out of this team. And I think that's why you're seeing so many positive reports out of this camp. Is there any player right now, I would say in the last, week or so, that's really been standing out to you, that you say to look out for in this Giants game on Saturday because he might show up again?
For me, I think you take a look at the running back situation. I think the Jets have a very, very good running back core, and I think they're extremely underrated. When I went into the running back core, I was like, okay, I like Ty Johnson, I like Michael Carter. But now that I've gone to training camp, I see Tevin Coleman, I see his wheels, I see his speed, and I'm like, wow, I'm totally impressed by this guy too. And you have Ty Johnson, who's a great fit for this offense. He has speed, and P. Ryan. Woof. I know a lot of people, including myself, were counting him out. Not sure if he would fit this offense, but P. Ryan's a guy that has been showing up at training camp, and he's a guy to also watch out for. It wouldn't surprise me if during the Giants game, if he had a big game as well. He seemed to develop good chemistry with Zach Wilson, and I like Austin Waller too, the guy that they got from the 49ers that they picked up. He's very fast, very explosive. He's a guy that may not make the team, but he might be a practice squad candidate, but he has a lot of speed. And a guy that I've liked recently that has been caught on, I know our tight end group is not doing so well. There's been a lot of drops. I really like the potential of Kenny Yuboa. He's been catching a lot of passes. Granted, his blocking needs some work, but his hands has been very, very well the past few times that I went to training camp. It wouldn't surprise me if he did well against the Giants simply because our tight ends, to say at least, are very lackluster at this point. But Kenny Yuboa's hands is something that I've been noticing. And CJ Mosley, he's been doing very, very well at training camp. The reason why I'm putting CJ Mosley on this list is because a lot of fans are questioning why he opted out. There's a lot of questions about whether or not he opted out because he didn't want to play for Adam Gase. He quit on this team. But when I look at CJ Mosley, wow, he looks like the same player that you've seen against the Buffalo Bills. He seems like the guy that everything you hear him talking, he's a guy that will definitely back his talk up quite a bit. And as far as wide receivers, I like Keelan Cole a lot. I think what the Jets did was amazing because we had the 32nd ranked offense with Adam Gase, and you brought in Keelan Cole, you brought in Corey Davis, who's been an absolute beast for Zach Wilson. And Zach Wilson has been developing a very strong chemistry, it seems, at training camp with Corey Davis. And it's a shame with Elijah Moore that he went down. But I think for fans, I would take a look at Kenny Yuboa at tight end and take a look at our running backs. Our running backs are very underrated, in my opinion. I don't think they get a lot of respect. I think we have a very, very good core at running back. I think they're all good for a lot of different reasons.
No, absolutely. I agree. I mean, you could have a situation like a Danny Woodhead type of situation where it just kind of, there's so many backs that you like that he just kind of gets left out. And then, as you know, Danny went on to San Diego, had a couple good years there, before he flamed out. You got to remember that's a tough position to play. You take a lot of punishment. And so just to have even a couple years where you're even productive at all is really incredible. As far as predictions, I saw Marcus say no crazy predictions like last year. Before it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy when you look at how the Jets really wind up what they became by the time the end of the year came, right? But in the beginning of the year, there was a lot of hope for the Jets. And it wasn't just me, it was a lot of people that had hope for the New York Jets and what they're able to bring to the table. I mean, everybody was really excited about, last year in the beginning with Darnold taking the next step and Mosley. And it started off really good, and then Mosley got hurt. And then as a Jet fan, it's almost like, oh, well, the Patriots, there you go, sorry. But San Diego, too, for some fantasy years with Woodhead. But, yeah, I mean, you look at it, and I'm just like, here we go again, another Jet season, and then Darnold gets mono, which puts him out, and then the story from there. One of the most unusual Jet seasons I've ever seen. One of the least prepared teams I think I've ever seen. I mean, now, especially when you look back on it, nobody really believed in that guy at all. And I'd be really surprised if he gets a job again after some of the things that people have said and, just how the team completely fell apart at the end. I mean, the fact that we even won those 2 games, I tell people all the time, right? I'm like, we're lucky because I think Jacksonville, if they played us head to head, if Jacksonville played us head to head, I think they would have beat us last year. I really do. I really truly believe that. That was tough. I mean, obviously Trevor Lawrence should be, the quarterback for the New York Jets. We all know that. Doesn't mean Zach Wilson's not going to be good. So I'd say the bold prediction for me, and I said this before, with the weapons that the Jets have put together on the offensive line, with the receiving core, with the running backs, there's no reason Zach Wilson shouldn't be in the discussion for Rookie of the Year, where he was drafted and what he has to start with. It doesn't mean that the Jets are going to have a lot of success, but I think he can have a lot of success in this offense with these players, and really put himself in the category of where he's drafted. You're drafted second overall. There is a lot of expectations that come with that. And it's not like he's coming to the Jets team that Darnold saw when he first came in or anything like that. I mean, he's walking into some legitimate talent. I mean, even to the fact that A.J. Brown of the Titans thinks that Elijah Moore is going to win Rookie of the Year if he's healthy. I mean, he believed in the guy right away, and he's doing everything he possibly can to make sure this guy's going to be successful moving in to the year. And so, I mean, you look at all the factors that come into play with the AFC East, it's going to be really tough to really see. I'm going to be keeping my eye on the Patriots to see how good they're going to be this year. I think they overspent. The Dolphins, I think they're going to be better. I think the Bills are going to be the same team, but man, they spent a lot on Josh Allen, and there's a lot of expectations there, but they're right where they should be. The Jets just aren't there yet. That is a real complete football team, and they got their shot now the last 2 years, and they probably have this year and maybe next year before they really have to start looking at that roster. And because if the Jets put it together, if the Dolphins put it together, if the Patriots do it, it's very hard to have continual success as an organization year after year after year. The teams that are able to do it, it's tough. I mean, you even look at powerhouses like the Cowboys, but look at what they've done. Nothing. It's just, you look at Green Bay, you look at Aaron Rodgers, you look at who they have, and they've only won 1 Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. Look at how long Drew Brees was in the league, how many Super Bowls he had. You look at all these great players and the seasons and the stats they're able to put together, and you go, man, you would think that it would relate to more winning, but it doesn't necessarily do that because it's a team effort. There's a lot of different components, including the coaching, including the organization and how they bring players in, how they, send players out, their training staff, their scouting staff, their drafting and their drafting tactics. So there's a lot of different ways to build an organization. And we're hoping that they got the right formula now, new pieces, new plan, new system, new players. And you just have to be excited about what they're doing until they give you any reason not to be. We should be excited here. There's no expectations on the Jets to win the Super Bowl or go to the playoffs or anything like that. It should be pretty much all fun. It should be player development, watching individual matchups like we talked about. Could Quinnen Williams take the next step? Is Davis a true number one? Will Denzel Mims emerge? Is there any Rookie of the Year candidates on the roster? Will this be a top 15 offensive line? How about all the young cornerbacks and linebackers? Will one emerge? Will none of them
Mm-hmm.
emerge? These are the little individual storylines I think you have to look at going into this year and being excited about it. Not excited for a win total in a stacked AFC, in a stacked AFC East. It's just not the way to think. I mean, I'm seeing people saying the Jets are going to have 11 and 12 wins. I wouldn't exactly say that. I think we've learned our lesson, right? Last year with the expectations. So we're gonna let them play this one out. And as always, the first 4 games, you want a fair shake. You're installing new things. It's gonna take a while to gel, but I see the Jets winning right now without seeing them on just looking at the roster. I see 6 wins. I see 7 wins for this team. I definitely see an improvement. I don't see a 2-win team. I don't see a 4-win
Mm-hmm.
team. I see the Jets winning more than that. So I don't think it's going to be like that, but it's not going to be, I think, as smooth as everything is projected right now. Right now is all the show and the parade and all that kind of stuff. But once you get into the work, there's a lot that needs to be learned from the new quarterback, and they have to gel together, and it's going to take time. But I think they have the right pieces and coaching staff around, the quarterback to rein him in and really get him to develop. Because the one thing that we saw from Darnold is that they brought in a guy who didn't fit the quarterback. He was there to kind of save Darnold, but like save him in the way that Gase knows how to save. And that's not the quarterback that he is. And that's why you saw Flacco perform better in that limited time, honestly, than Darnold. And the receivers even said so, with Mims saying that, just throws a sharper, better ball. It's just a different style of play. And I think, if Darnold would have stayed, I still think this offense would have been better for him. I just think Wilson's a better talent. And I think that the Jets made a better decision that way, to go that way. I think when you look at Zach and his ability to break down tape is something that they keep mentioning over and over. And I think this kid is going to learn how to go about it and do it the right way. And I'm just excited. So, we'll see what happens. Saturday they face off against the Giant, and you're going to see a little bit of a taste. I mean, we're right around the corner from starting the season. Everything happens really fast, and then all of a sudden, we're at the games, and we're watching them, and our heads are in our hands, and it's not good. I mean, and when you run a Jet show, to have to see the Jets lose as much as they have over the last few years, it really does suck. But we're going to be here each and every week. And like always, guys, listen, if you want to listen to our audio show, anywhere you listen to audio podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple, you can find us on there. Just type in Jets Guru. And, jump on our YouTube page, man. Start getting those numbers up for us like you do here on Facebook. We also have an Instagram, Jets Guru, and at Guru Jets on Twitter, if you want to connect with us and talk a little bit more football throughout the week. But with that being said, we're going to cut this out and go to our Vintage Jets highlights to end the night. You guys be safe this weekend. Enjoy yourself. If you're going to participate in any festivities, please be safe out there. Drink your water, man. Not enough of you people are drinking water. You're passing out from not even drinking water. It's hot out there. It's super hot today in New York. Love you guys. Thank you for all the support. The show keeps growing, so we're going to keep building it, right? So have a good night. JETS, Jets. Peace. Take care.
Yo, this your boy Sherman.
This week on Jets Throwback, we take a look at one of my personally favorite, Dennis Byrd. Dennis Byrd was born October 5th, 1966, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. He attended college at Tulsa, and he was drafted by the New York Jets in 1989, round 2, pick 42. Over his 4 seasons, he recorded 28 sacks and 110 tackles. His career ended when he was paralyzed following a collision with teammates during a game on November 29, 1992. The Jets retired Byrd's number 90 on October 28, 2012 against the Miami Dolphins. However, it has been informally retired for quite some time now. The Jets had no reissued number 90 since Byrd's injury. Also, during a week leading up to the 2010-2011 AFC divisional matchup between the Jets and Patriots, Byrd sent head coach Rex Ryan his cut-up jersey and a couple of inspirational letters to the Jets. Ryan was so moved by this, he invited him personally to come visit the team prior to the game. The inspiration inspired the Jets so much they carried his jersey up to the coin toss, and you know the rest of the story. The Jets won the game 28-21. Byrd would end up passing away on October 5th, 2016 in a two-car collision. Byrd was 50 years old. And that is your Jets Throwback Player of the Week.